Hey everybody, I am checking in with you guys to finally upload this labor and delivery story. This will be part one, and I actually recorded it previously and I accidentally deleted it, so I'm kind of mad about that, but it's okay. Just gonna do it over. In the link below, I'll have part two linked below, and so basically, yeah, I'm gonna try to go through this and try to give it in as much detail as I did it the first time. But yeah, so I go to the hospital at 5 o'clock in the morning for my check-in appointment, register with the nurse and everything, and it was me and another lady who had got there around the same time, and our rooms weren't ready. So after we got registered, I was still waiting in the waiting room for a little bit. They finally called us both up at the same time, and I had to go. We went up to our room, got checked in, got situated and everything, and the nurse is in there, and then there's a student nurse that's observing her, and I didn't mind that really. That was fine. But so the nurse is trying to do my IV, and she starts on this arm, and she does it over on my wrist here. Didn't work. Like, she gets it in and she's trying to, stick the IV needle in, and she's like, "Oh, your veins dancing." And I'm like, "Oh God." So she couldn't get it in, and she finally thinks she has it in, and she was like, "Oh, the drip is supposed to be a lot faster than that." "Uh-oh, is your arm swelling?" I'm like, "What? What the heck are you doing?" So she's like pushing here around it because it was starting to get puffy, and I'm like, "You probably poked so many holes in my vein that this fluid is leaking out into my arm," because it was just and the drip was like, and she's like, "It's supposed to be a lot faster." So she's like, "Okay, I'm just gonna take it out and redo it to make sure that it's right. I want to do it before you're in a lot of pain or anything." So she takes it out and starts over here. And I really don't like them being over here anyway, because my range of motion with my wrist, I can feel all of that whenever I move my hand. Up here on my hand, it's a lot easier for me for some reason. But she gets it in here, got it in pretty easy, and it drips like it was going a lot faster and how it was supposed to be. So that was good. But then she goes to try to get my blood. Can't get my blood for it. She's like, "Oh, your blood's so thick." And it wouldn't come out in the tubes. I'm like, "No." So she's like, "Okay, I'm just going to do another hole over here. I'm going to use the butterfly needle." And I'm like, okay. So I got poked here, and then I got my IV here, and then I got poked here. And so she finally gets this little butterfly needle, and she starts getting tubes of blood. And so after that, she starts my Pitocin drip, and this was, I want to say by around 8 o'clock, everything was situated. All of my monitors and everything were hooked up. And so I'm sitting there, and Pitocin, they started on the lowest level, and it gradually increases the dosage of the Pitocin that it gives you. So I'm sitting there, and I'm chilling throughout these contractions. I'm going in there anticipating, feeling like my insides were completely going to fall out, because I've heard people say, "Oh, your Pitocin induced contractions are way worse than regular contractions." And so I'm expecting the worst. They weren't that bad. It really I mean, they were a little intense, but I took castor oil to induce myself with my first daughter when I was trying to have her, and those contractions were vicious. I actually think those were a little bit worse than actually just having this Pitocin induced contractions. Just felt like really strong period cramps. I was fine. I was sitting there. I wasn't really screaming, hollering. I was in Zen mode, and I was Pitocin was dripping, but I was I gotta use the restroom. And then I called a nurse, and then she's like, "Yeah, the doctor's gonna come and break your water, and then the contractions are gonna get really intense." Then they weren't already intense. They were. I was just handling them, okay. And so I felt like I kind of peed on myself, and I'm like, "Yeah, I gotta go to the restroom." So I get up, go to the restroom, and I go pee, and this started gushing. I mean, it was just a gush of just and I'm like, "What the? What is that?" And so I'm thinking like it felt like I was peeing though. Like I would, like when you go to pee, you know how girls, like we could stop peeing and like the stuff would stop leaking. I know this might be too much information, TMI for some of you. You know, I could control that. So I wasn't quite sure what was going on. And with my first daughter, I had to have my water broke. So I had no idea what your water breaking looked like, felt like. And I'm like, the heck is that? So I'm like, nurse, I think my water's broke. And then she's like, oh yeah, broke. It's okay. It's okay. Because it was kind of red. And I'm like, is this normal? So yeah, I go ahead and finish using the restroom, get back in bed. And the way I'm sitting, like I'm kind of at a, you know, reclined a little bit, but when my legs, you know, the butterfly position when you're like working out or stretching, where you like put your feet together and have your legs out, I was sitting like that in bed, and I think that helped with easing the pain of the contractions. Like I was just going through them. I had my music on for some of the time. The nurse would come in, and mind you, when I checked in, I was 2 centimeters already. So by this time I go to the restroom, come back, and you know, a little bit later, she checks me again, and I'm 3 centimeters right after my water broke. And so I'm like, yay, making progress. But it felt slow to me, like I was only at 3 centimeters. And so a lady comes back later, like maybe an hour or so later, and she was like, oh, well, your Pitocin's on the highest level that it can go on, and how are you doing? I'm like, I'm okay. What's your pain on a level of 1 to 10? And I was like, 7, 6 maybe. And she's like, okay, well, we're going to go ahead and take the monitor off your belly and change the monitor. And I'm like, what for? You know, I was like, why? And, you know, just to get a more accurate read on your contractions, like this big old monitor with the Himalayan mountain contraction readings, like I drew them on with a Sharpie or something. I'm like, anyway, whatever. So she was like, they're going to go on and put the little monitor thing on the baby's head through my vajayjay. And so she didn't even do it. She gets her little assistant lady to do it. So I'm like, come on, are y'all serious? So she goes in. I hated that part. Like I wanted to like punch this. I felt so bad, but it was so uncomfortable. And she's like, oh, I'm almost finished. Okay, almost there. I mean, it was like, it took forever for one, and it was the most uncomfortable thing ever. And I'm like, just hurry up and get this stupid thing on. And so this wire is out now, and they got it taped to my leg, and they're like, oh, you can't move that much because we don't want, you know, if you knock off the wire, then they're going to have to put it back on. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And so, yeah, she finally gets it on, and, you know, it was just uncomfortable, and I was so mad at her. It was like the belly thing was working fine to begin with, and so, yeah, I got checked again a little bit later, and I was at 4 centimeters. And so what she did is she rolled me over to my side, and she called it like a Superman position. And I rolled on my side. My right leg was straight. My left leg was like, my knee was bent, and she put a pillow in between my legs, and I stayed like that for a while. And that actually did, like, she was like, well, this position helps to open up your hips and help you dilate faster and gets progress going. And so it actually did. That position worked wonders, because I was like starting to feel, and they were more intense. And so I'm like, you know, like, come rub my back, somebody come rub my back. You know, my mom, my husband, my best friend, and my stepdad were there. I'm like, somebody just come rub my back. Don't talk to me. I'm like just zoning out, but somebody come rub my back, please. And so I'm getting my back rubbed, and 4 centimeters. Yeah, around this time, I asked for the IV, like the IV drug, which is supposed to take the edge off a little bit. It's called Set It Off. And so they give me this drug through the IV, and she was like, basically with the drug, they're going to have to cut it off at 8 centimeters because it's strong, and they don't want the baby to get contact with it. So anything past 8 centimeters, they got to cut it off. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. My progression is going so slow, that's okay. I just need something, because I'm thinking I'm going to be there for a long time, like a lot longer. And so I'm sitting there, and this drug, and I was out of it. I was so out of it. Like, this was my communication. My finger, it was like, like I was like, they were like I was talking with my finger, but that's all I was really doing was like wiggling it and not really saying anything. But this lady, she kept trying to check me in between, during contractions. She's like, I just need you to scoot over a little bit. So I'm like, like just try to say, hold on a bit and like wait for this contraction to pass. And she tried to get me to move and all this. So she checked me again after I got this drug going. The doctor came in, I vaguely remember, and he was like, yeah, we're going to have a baby. Contractions are looking great, yada, yada, yada. And so after I got this drip, and she texts me again, and I was at 6 centimeters. Hold on a second, baby's crying. Okay, yeah, so I'm like, I got the drug in my IV. Doctor came in, and let's see, where was I? Oh, I was at 6 centimeters. Okay, so I was at 6 centimeters, and then I'm like 20 minutes later, I'm just like, I gotta poop. And she's like, let me check you again. I'm like, no, I gotta poop. I don't know why I did this, man. Like, I did the same thing with my first daughter. It's okay, Mama. Oh, somebody's hungry. Shh, 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 shh. And so I was like, I gotta poop. And so, yeah, I go and she's like, no, you need to push. And I was like, what? No, I gotta poop. Like, it just felt like it went way too fast. I'm like, how do I go from 6 to 10 centimeters like that? So, like, I'm thinking, like, she didn't have time to stop the drug. You know, they were supposed to stop it at 8 centimeters, but we completely flew past that because I was already at 10. And, yeah, I'm like, I just kept saying, I remember saying, and then this stupid drug, I was so out of it. Like, it didn't take any edge off. I was just too out of it to scream or holler about the pain I was in. Every contraction, I'm like, yeah. They were strong. And they weren't the most comfortable thing to be experiencing. But I got through it. And, you know, took it like a champ. And so, yeah, pretty much I'm going to leave off here because I picked back up with waiting on the doctor while I'm at 10 centimeters, but he's nowhere to be found. So just check out part 2, and I'll holler at you guys later. Till then, peace. Bye.